All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're talking about the New York Giants. This team seriously has had such a phenomenal offseason. It's almost as if nobody is even talking about it. Like outside of the fan base, nobody is talking about the New York Giants offseason. Nobody really talked about them last year either. This team got past the first round. They went on the road and took down the Minnesota Vikings in the first round of the playoffs. Unfortunately, they played the second best team in the NFL in their second round, but things are looking great. They're led by Brian Dable. They have great offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. They have a great coaching staff in general. They're filling in the holes. They're building on the foundations. This team next year is ready to make some noise, and we're going to focus primarily tonight on the offensive side. In our last video, my first ever Giants video this offseason, I talked about, Bobby Okereke. You got guys like, Bobby McCain, Raheem Nunez, Roches. Like, you got good players. All right. They were a middle of the pack offense. They were a middle of the pack defense. They had more holes, more issues with the rush defense than the passing defense. Keep in mind, in general, on both sides of the football, this is an extremely young team, but led by Wink Martindale, I have full faith in this defense because last year they showed me a lot, especially towards the crunch time in the end of the season. I know they won 31-24 against Minnesota. I really think genuinely that is very impressive. Minnesota for almost the entire season. I know they had some lapses towards the end of the regular season, but seriously, they were a great team in the NFC. They were actually one of the best teams in the NFL for majority of the season as far as consistency goes. So it's no small task to go on the road, especially to Minnesota, and win that football game. I can't put enough emphasis on it. And we'll actually talk a little bit about it today. But like I said, we talked more so about their defense in our last video. Offensively, this team is poised to make big strides. Now, before we get any further into tonight's video, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Giants fans, my first video since the offseason began, you guys blessed it with over 1,000 likes. Seriously, I can't thank you enough. Let's try and get 500 likes on tonight's video. I cannot wait to continue to cover this team into the offseason, draft, regular season, etc. I seriously don't think this team is getting much noise, and that's why we're focusing on the offense tonight, because the more I look into it, the more I dive into this Giants team, it's like, why not New York? I think people overlook them because you have Philadelphia in the division, the team that made the Super Bowl. You have the Dallas Cowboys, quote unquote, America's team, blah, blah, blah. You have some powerhouse in your division, and let alone this team still had a great season. I know the end of the year record-wise didn't start or wasn't the same as the way they started the season, but overall outlook, New York looks great. And I think their win-loss being set at 8.5, I just don't see it. Now, I will say they don't have the easiest of schedules per se, but I think this is the year the New York Giants take that leap. Now, they've made some nice moves. You got Jamison Crowder on a 1-year deal. He's versatile. He's a playmaker. He can play slot. You can, like, once again, he's just straight up versatile. 3 years ago now, wow, time flies, with the Jets in 2019. He's a veteran. He's not too old, though. 78 catches, 833 yards, 6 touchdowns. You re-signed Darius Slayton, you re-signed Sterling Shepard, you re-signed Daniel Jones, you franchise tag Saquon Barkley, you trade for Darren Waller. We'll talk about this a little bit more later on in the video. But I saw a mock draft earlier today, and in fact, I saw even just straight up Giants news that Boston College star wide receiver Zay Flowers will be taking a top 30 visit with the Giants. The draft is important, okay? There's a couple of needs. Offensive line, specifically interior offensive line. You have the cornerback position, which we've seen them make a couple of moves at that. Linebacker made a couple of moves at that, and then wide receiver. My main focus in the first round, your late first round draft pick, I am taking your best possible interior offensive lineman. Fingers crossed a center falls, the right center, I should say, falls to New York. This is an extremely deep offensive line class. I'm not worried actually about the wide receiver room or the quarterback room in any way, shape, or form. And I'll explain to you why. And a lot of it has to do with that road game against Minnesota. I am a Green Bay Packers fan. I hate playing, not me specifically, I hate when the Packers play at Minnesota. It never works out well, ever. In fact, even if you've ever been to Minneapolis and you drive on the highway and you see that stadium, you understand why. That thing is huge. They love their football and they're a good football team. And they went on the road and shut them up. Daniel Jones in that game, 24-35, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, along with the leading rusher on the team with 78 total yards. That was 4.6 yards per carry. I understand the skepticism some people may have with Daniel Jones. If there's going to be somebody to unlock the most potential that Daniel Jones has, it's going to be Mr. Brian Daboll. All right. We know that. Daniel Jones has been in the NFL for several seasons. He only threw 5 interceptions this last year. However, I know it wasn't a big passing yard season. I know it wasn't, yards per game. It was around 200. He only threw 15 touchdowns, but at the same time, he threw just 5 picks. And I will say this, Saquon Barkley is an absolute stud. One of, if not the best running back in the National Football League. So more of a rush-heavy offense. But once again, Daniel Jones did what he had to do. So when you look at statistics, it's like, all right, they were a bottom 5 passing offense. They dealt with a bunch of injuries. That's another critical part about this Giants team next year is please just stay healthy. But I look back to that game against Minnesota, and I'm like, you have Darius Slayton. Now you have Darren Waller. Now you have James Crowder, right? Now you have Paris Campbell, who, by the way, Colts fans were not pleased about. You have Daniel Bellinger, former 4th-round pick, but you also have Isaiah Hodgins. And the reason I bring that up is because I've been seeing a lot of hype around Giants Nation, or I don't know if it's Giants Nation, but Giants fan base about Isaiah. And it's for phenomenal reasons. He had his coming out game against Minnesota in the playoffs. He had 8 catches, 105 yards, 1 touchdown, including several highlight reel plays. He also just had a good end to the season in general. Final week against Indy, 5 catches, 42 yards, and a touchdown. Against Washington, he had 4 catches. Philly the week before, 6 catches, 38 yards, a touchdown. The week before that against Washington in the unfortunate tie at the time, 6 catches, 44 yards, and a touchdown. This guy had 5 total touchdowns in his last 7 games. I'm not saying Isaiah Hodgins is a wide receiver 1. I'm not saying he will be a wide receiver 1. I'm just saying Paris Campbell, Jamison Crowder, Isaiah Hodgins breakout, Darren Waller, tight end 1 with Daniel Bellinger. You have Darius Slayton, you have Sterling Shepard, you have Saquon Barkley, you have an improving Daniel Jones. Hopefully you continue to bolster your offensive line in the draft. I'm just saying, man, this Giants team, the cards are being placed. And we saw it last year, especially at the start of the season. But I think that win against Minnesota was so discredited, probably because the Vikings lost to Indy in the regular season. That was disgusting. But, man, I don't know. This Giants team, I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. But what I am saying is their future is extremely bright. And I also am saying there's so much to be excited about, both sides of the football. This team is ready to make some noise. We saw it last year, and it's only going to continue. So let me know what you guys are thinking, Giants fans. Seriously, appreciate you guys so much. If you want more Giants videos, let me know down below. Hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. And once again, let's try and get this video to 500 likes. But regardless, appreciate you guys watching. Have a good rest of your